Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Economics Unplugged. This is Dr. R. Premalata from Vistas. Today we are going to talk about something very important, something that sounds technical but actually affects our daily life: public debt. Now, when you heard the word debt, you may feel, oh, this is something negative, something dangerous. But let me tell you something interesting. Every country in the world has debt. Even powerful countries like the US have huge debt. So the real question is not whether debt exists. The real question is how it is used. And that's exactly what we are going to understand today. Let me begin with a very simple example. Imagine a middle class family. They can earn 30,000 per month, but their expenses, rent, school fees, groceries come to 40,000. Now, what they will do? Can they stop eating? No, of course not. Can they stop children education? No. So, naturally, they borrow money. Now, slowly, month by month, they try to repay it. This exact situation happens at the government level too, but on a much larger scale. Let me tell you a small story. There is a village facing a serious water problem. Every summer, people walk kilometers just to get water. Now, the village leaders decide we need a water tank, but there's one problem. They don't have enough money. So, what do? They take a loan, build the water tank, and later, through small taxes collected from villagers, they repay the loan. Now think about this. Did the loan help or harm the village? Obviously, it helped. This is called good use of debt. Now, based on what we understood, public debt simply means the money borrowed by the government. Why does it borrow? Because its income, mainly from taxes, is not enough to meet all its expenses. Government has to spend on roads, schools, hospitals, defense, welfare schemes. So, when income is less and expenses are more, borrowing becomes necessary. In textbooks, you will see definitions by economists like Dalton and others. But let's simplify it. Instead of memorizing definitions, understand the idea. Whenever the government takes a loan to meet its expenses, that is public debt. That's all you need. One important thing: public debt is not taken randomly. It is planned. Government carefully decides how much to borrow, from where to borrow, for what purpose. So it is part of economic planning, not careless spending. Now let's connect this with our daily life. When you take a loan, maybe for education, house, or bike, that is private debt. For example, a student takes an education loan to study engineering. Later, after getting a job, he repays it. That is private borrowing. Now compare both. Government borrows public debt, if individual borrow private debt. But the purpose is different. Government borrows for public welfare, we borrow for personal needs. That's the key difference. Here's something very interesting. If you take a loan, you repay from your salary. But when government takes a loan, it repays using taxes collected from people. So indirectly, we are all contributing to public debt repayment. Now think, you are paying tax on petrol, GST. That money is also used to repay government loans. Now let's think practically. Can government stop building hospitals? Can it stop education? Can it stop defense? No. These are essential services. Also, during emergencies like COVID, government had to spend huge money to provide free food and healthcare. So, borrowing becomes unavoidable. Now let's understand different types of public debt. Don't worry, I will explain each type with simple examples so you won't get confused. First, internal debt. This means borrowing from within the country. Government borrows from banks, RBI, and citizens. Let me give a simple example. If you invest your money in a government bond, you are actually lending money to the government. Think of it like this. You give 10,000 to the government today. Government promises to return it after some years with interest. So you earn interest. Government gets funds. Win-win situation. Now external debt, borrowing from outside India, from institutions like World Bank, IMF or foreign countries. This is usually for big projects. But there is a risk here. Repayment is in foreign currency. If the value of rupee falls, we need to pay more money. So this type of debt must be used carefully. Short-term debt is taken for a short period to manage temporary shortage of funds, like when government needs immediate cash. Long-term debt is taken for big development projects like highways, railways, and dams. These projects take time but give long-term benefits. Now that is very important. Productive debt creates income. Example, government builds a road, farmers can transport goods faster, businesses grow, income increases. So this debt is beneficial. Unproductive debt does not create income. Example, war expenses or unnecessary spending. No return comes back, so it becomes a burden on future generations. Now let's see where government gets money from within the country. Banks, bonds, and treasury bills. These are the most common sources. From outside the country, foreign governments, international institutions. Public debt has many advantages. It helps in development, it creates employment, it improves infrastructure. Without borrowing, growth will slow down. But too much debt can create problems. Inflation, high taxes, burden on future generations. That's why balance is very important. Now let's understand burden. Debt becomes a burden depending on how it is used. Internal burden, internal versus external burden. Internal debt, money stays within the country. External debt, money goes outside. So external burden is more serious. In India, public debt is increasing, mostly internal, used for development. So currently it is manageable but must be controlled. Now let's go one step deeper. We already saw that India has a large public debt. But the important question is, what is the structure of this debt? In simple words, where is this debt coming from? Now here is something very interesting. Around 85 to 90% of India's public debt is internal debt. That means most of the money is borrowed from within the country itself, from banks, RBI, and even people like us through bonds. Why is this important? Because when the government borrows internally, the money stays within the country. It's like one pocket of India giving money to another pocket of India. So overall, the country does not lose wealth. But external debt, that is money we borrow from outside, and that must be repaid in foreign currency. So even though India's total debt looks big, the structure is actually safer because most of it is internal. Now let's talk about what is happening recently. In the last few years, especially after COVID, government borrowing has increased significantly. Why? Because during COVID, people lost jobs, businesses shut down, healthcare spending increased, so government had to step in. It provided free food, financial support, vaccines, and all this required huge money. Now, here is the important observation: government is not just borrowing randomly. Today, India is focusing more on capital expenditure. That means borrowing money to build highways, railways, and infrastructure. So, instead of wasting money, the focus is on productive use of debt, and that is a very positive sign. Now comes the most common question: is India falling into the debt trap? Let's think logically. Yes, of course, India's debt is increasing, but does that automatically mean danger? No, because we must look at two things. How much is the debt? How is the debt used? Now, in India's case, most debt is internal, much of it is used for development. So, currently, India is not in a debt trap. But if borrowing keeps increasing without proper use, then it can become risky in the future. So, the key idea is borrowing is okay, but smart borrowing is important. So now let's bring everything together. We started with a simple question: what is public debt? And now we understand that public debt is not something to fear, it is a tool. If used properly, it builds roads, creates jobs, it develops the economy. But if misused, it creates burden, increases taxes, it affects future generations. So the real problem is not debt, the real problem is how we use the debt. Let me leave you with a one simple thought: debt can build a nation or break it depending on how wisely it is used. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this useful, like, share, and subscribe, and tell me in the comments, do you think public debt is good or bad? Thank you once again.